much, Trinity. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to say good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. And I'm so appreciative to have you in the space. I'm going to start with a prompt because I want to draw you in. What if you could learn to respond to life's challenges instead of reacting to them? To be able to take your power back strategically, resourcefully, and gracefully. It sounds like it's a lot, doesn't it? It sounds like it's not really possible. And I'm a life coach, and I wanted to find a way to help my clients and the people that I work with in group coaching really find a way for them to navigate life's challenges with more grace. And so I came up with a system, and I wrote a book about it during COVID, and it's called Name, Claim, and Reframe Your Path to a Well-Lived Life. And I'm going to tell you something about the system so you understand, and then I'm going to take you into the first part of it. Name your emotional triggers. What is causing me to react to that challenge instead of respond to it? Claim resonant actions that match up with my core values. I mean, when I know what's most important, what I really believe, it's easier to see where I want to go and to keep sacred what's most important. And then reframe your mindset so that you can separate your ego, shift your perspective, and look at the challenge with new eyes, a new perspective, and harvest the learning, or think, you know what, I have to do this, but I'm going to choose to gain. I'm gonna have a learning goal out of this, or I'm gonna just not get emotional about this. I'm gonna think about where I want to go. So name, claim, and reframe is a really simple and powerful strategy for navigating life, not just when someone steals your idea at work, or you have a major problem of financial setback, or a job loss, or a diagnosis that knocks you to your knees. It's a time to, when you have a fight with your spouse or a disagreement with a colleague at work, or someone steals your parking place on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's a way to really just step back, take a deep breath, and be more strategic in the way that you navigate the outside world. If I may, what I'd like to do, and I think Trinity made it possible for me to screen share. I'm not going to do a huge screen share with you, but I do want to take you into this so you can maybe see yourself in the name step. So I'm going to just quickly share my screen and show you this work. Okay. So if you see above, I have got this chart, and this is available to you as the balance your response chart. And I've got, this is in the naming stuff. This is when we really decide, what kind of leader do I want to be? Whether you identify as a man, a woman, or you are, however you identify, we all come into the world with masculine leadership traits and feminine leadership traits. And sometimes I lose people when I say that, especially people that identify as men. But the hard truth of it is that if we are trying to be really doing a lot of things, we identify with a lot of masculine leadership traits, because masculine leadership traits are more about doing, and feminine leadership traits are more about being. Great negotiators bring a lot of feminine leadership into their negotiation because they are receiving people. They're creating community. And when I say this to, say if I'm on a podcast or something, and I say this to the male podcast host, I said, you're being a host right now. That's a feminine leadership trait. They think, oh yeah, I guess you're right. So let me share with you, I've got natural responses, which are above the line, and wounded responses when you're below the line. So the question I have for you is, are you above the line or are you below the line? And so this is something that I use all the time. And I think my natural reaction is to say, oh, that was below the line. I want to try to bring my response up. Let me give you an example. So a natural, oopsie, excuse me, a natural, of course, technology, a natural masculine response, when we're being in our masculine leadership traits might be being courageous or determined or target focused or responsible. And, these are all amazing masculine leadership traits, and we all want to embody those. But what happens when we are reactive is we might show up being controlling, defensive, stubborn, or territorial. And I know I've been that way before. And it's just about catching yourself and being conscious about, okay, where am I? I may be reacting, but I can choose to bring it above the line. Feminine leadership traits that are positive that we want to embody might be being collaborative, emotionally intelligent, receptive, and vulnerable. I mean, Brene Brown made that something that we like to be. And these are all great. I mean, altruism lives here. And I mean, these are the kinds of leaders that we want to follow, leaders that integrate both of those masculine and feminine. But, and this one I think is the hardest one to stand in, the below the line wounded feminine traits might be being a perfectionist, insecure, a people pleaser, or passive aggressive. Gosh, I've been those things. And what I'm saying in this work and the naming step is that we may react initially and think, ooh, I'm there, but we can choose again to bring it above the line. So it's the difference between reacting to adversity and responding to it. Do you want to react or do you want to respond? I'm going to show you quickly, and this is not super easy to see, and then I'm going to stop the share and talk a little bit more, but I have given you the opportunity to take a peek at one of the tools that I present in my book, and in the chapter 2 of it is where I have this balance your response, where you can really think about, okay, where am I at any given moment? That this thing happened to me. I was in a meeting and someone stole my incredible idea. And I'm feeling really below the line territorial, and I'm feeling angry about that. And so when you are when you have anger, that's a reactive trait, and you are back on your heels. You are out of power. And I would venture to say, if you want to respond to that, you can get curious and respond by being, curious isn't above the line, curious, or maybe compassion, thinking, okay, this person was feeling out of power and they did that. And maybe I can, think, what a great idea. Let's talk about it. I think you and I talked about that, and really sort of try to meet them in the middle. And you can see that when we try to respond to adversity, giving ourselves a beat, it promotes more harmony. We feel more balanced, and we're really promoting the best of ourselves. I'm going to stop sharing now because then I can see you all. So with name, claim, and reframe, it really was an opportunity for people to make life coaching tools accessible to everyone. And that was really my goal. I really did have a pivot in my early 50s, and I was an academic for 32 years, and I had a inciting incident in my life. And for me, it was a financial reset that really caused me to reevaluate what I thought was sacred, and this happens to people all the time, whether it's a divorce, a job loss, health issues, whatever it is. And this is when I would see people come into my coaching practice. They wanted to take their power back. And so naming, claiming, and reframing is something that you can use all the time. And I find that this work, this name, claim, and reframe, really has helped me and all my clients and anybody that's taken my workshops or read my book see things in a different way. And I think that it makes people kinder and gentler. And it's a provocative way of looking at the world, and a kinder way. And it's not an angry message. It's a really optimistic message. Um, the claiming step, which is the step after we've named and have the consciousness to name where we are, is about really identifying your core values. I think that we think we know what our core values are, but until we have a dissonant experience, we don't really know what's most important. And if you think back to something that happened in your life where you really felt just like someone punched you, it was like a sucker punch in your stomach, it's usually because a core value was violated. um, I go to the example of somebody stealing your idea or not listening. I mean, that's because you felt not seen or not respected. And it's really that red flag to think, okay, what do I need to take my power back strategically? With a lot of my clients and the people that I work with, it's energetic boundaries. Our core values really guard our energetic boundaries, and our energetic boundaries guard our internal energy reserves. When you feel exhausted after a really, really long day, when you've had a lot of conflict, that's because a lot of core values have been violated. And so it's about, how do I create energetic boundaries in the claiming step? My favorite step of all, you have to name, you can't reframe till you've named it, claimed, is the reframing step. And we cannot control the incoming, the things that happen to us, but we can control our mindset. And I do a lot of work about talking about reframing plot twists and wrong turns and inciting incidents and interpersonal conflict, where you can take something that even happened long ago and reframe it and harvest the learning and find the gifts within that plot twist or that thing that was really hard. And I would invite you to think back on maybe a failed romance or something that derailed what you thought was the plan. And usually there's a gift that, like, oh gosh, that wasn't the person for me, but I learned this. Or gosh, that terrible thing happened to me, and oh, now I know that that's really important for me in a future job. I don't want to do that kind of work anymore. There's it when we reframe things, it's that you cannot lose. There's always something to pull from it. I talk a lot about reframing feedback because I grew up in a very critical household. Bless my father's heart, he just died in this April. He was 93. But I thought any kind of feedback was criticism. And you actually can take feedback and learn to sift and sort it to use to your advantage. Believe it or not, a lot of us are afraid of feedback. I know I was, and now I'm harvesting and really taking my power back. Compliments are another thing. In my NCR toolkit, which I've made available to you, and Dana, my PR coordinator, can get that for you if you don't have it. It's also in my book. There's all sorts of steps in even how to receive a compliment. And I feel this work is really optimistic. I call it NCR. Did you NCR it? I NCR every single day with everything that happens in my life. Today, I actually had a sewer backup. I had not taken a shower yet. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to reframe this because it's an opportunity to get out of my house where there's a lot of tension and anxiety from my husband mostly, and go to the gym and center myself before I got to meet all of you. So there's a reframe. I took my power back. NCR is a practice, and it's really can be used with everything. Big macro messes and little micro messes. It's a opportunity to choose again and really take your power back in a way that works for you. I've found that this work has made the people that I've touched with it, as well as myself, and people that have communicated with me, I feel like I live a more harmonious and balanced life because I'm integrating both sides of my wholeness. I'm embracing the darker parts of myself and understanding that, and you can too. Um, I think that my work, because obviously I'm a middle-aged woman with dry skin, and proof that it's never too late and you're not too old to pivot and to choose the life you want. Then that's usually the people that come to me and are interested in this work. I'm just really excited and I want to share it with you. If you want an actual copy of this book, I'm happy to send you one. Reach out to Dana Young, my PA coordinator. We'd love to send you this work. At the very least, look at, I know there's electronic copies you can look at, but I think the book speaks for itself. I'm also excited to share with you that we have a name, claim, and reframe workbook coming out in April, which helps people to step into really integrating this work and really seeing themselves in the work. And I have workshops and things that I do, and you can learn more about that on my website. I'm going to let you ask questions if you have questions. I've talked enough, and thank you so much for listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. We are going to open it up for questions now, reporters. So feel free to drop those in the chat or Q&A feature. And while those roll in, I want to let everyone know that Dana, the PR coordinator for Andrea, is open to send the workbook for anyone who wants it. So I'm going to drop her email here in the chat so that all the reporters have it.
Can I correct that, Trinity? The book, not the workbook. The workbook's not coming out till April. But this is
thank you for that correction.
But because the book is very sparkly.
Awesome.
And it looks like, is it Courtney that said she just survived cancer? So definitely she's pivoting. And Courtney, I want to share that I had a client. I use a lot of client stories in this book. And of course, they changed the names. I've used personal stories and client stories because I wanted people to see themselves in these stories, because we all have plot twists and unexpected hurricanes that blow into our lives. And there was a client that I tell a cancer story in this book, and I really would love for you to read about how this woman literally created the energetic boundaries around how she was going to navigate her treatment. And it was just such a beautiful story. And I was inspired by her grace in this story. So I hope that in these stories you will see that. I'd love also want to say to you all that if you do my leadership quiz, which is on my website, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about what you learned, because it's always fun to talk about this work.
Wonderful. Well, I have a question for you, Andrea. Okay. Do you have any celebrities that you know of that have read the book?
Celebrities, yes. This is the sparkly part. Emily Giffen found my book by the grace of God. I don't know how. Our book was released December of 2022. I thought it was a death sentence. No one was gonna ever find me. And Emily Giffen of the Today Show read my book and loved it. And I mean, we ran out of books. So that was rocket fuel under the unknown lady with middle-aged lady with dry skin. So it's kind of sent us into a different stratosphere. So yes, it was really exciting, and we're hoping for more. Let's see.
I can read that aloud to you. Yes, Courtney from That Girl at the Party. Andrea, you may have answered this already, but what started you on your path to creating this wonderful book? Yes, I was so lucky, got food poisoning, and they found a tiny spot on my pancreas that was a teeny cancer. So I was able to just be removed. So it's just able to be removed.
Gosh, Courtney, what a reframe. It's like a gift in disguise, we often hear. I mean, you can be optimistic. What happened to me was, in my early 50s, having a financial reset that I talk about it in chapter 1, but it caused me to really take my power back and thinking I get to choose who I am, and I get to choose again, because I wasn't really living in my truth. And this book is really about choosing again to really take your power back. Anybody can do this work. It's available to anybody. And I think the structure of name, claim, and reframe really helps people to see that they have so much more power than they think. And that's what I'm hopeful that people will see.
We have another question here from Barbara Burke from Malibu Magazine, Calabasas, Hidden Hills. And she's wondering, are there any arranged book signings in or near Malibu?
or in or near Malibu. Oh gosh, I would love that. I would love that. And it's more, and I have to be honest with you, the book industry has changed so much, and now authors have to bring their own audience to bookstores. So, I mean, unless you are a celebrity, which I am not, and I'm trying desperately to be. If you notice how good my hair looks, I'm trying. You know, I would be willing to do them and come and talk and do talks. I do talks, and I do little mini workshops. And if that's something that somebody's interested in, an independent bookseller or Barnes and Noble, I'd be happy to do it. Always available for things like that. And if you have a group that's interested, I like to dance, so I like to talk about this work and help people to see that they can take their power back.
Awesome. We have a comment here from Dana, who reps Andrea for PR. You know, we could do one with you, Barbara. Co-host question mark. So we have your address
Yes,
here. But first we'll get
absolutely.
you
And
the book.
I live in San Francisco, so that's an easy. And to come to Malibu, my gosh, twist my arm. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna hang on here for a few more minutes to see if any more questions come through the chat. In the meantime, I do want to remind reporters that you can either reach out to Dana directly, who reps Andrea for PR, or request samples and press releases through our website, mediaandmerch.com.
And I want to say thank you all for being here today. I know there's a lot that you're processing today, and I just am honored to have you in my space today. And hope you'll take a peek and know that I'd love to send you a copy of my book.
Wonderful. Well, I think that concludes our product presentation today. Andrea and reporters, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you on the next sessions. Thank you, Andrea.
Bye-bye.